Well, this video is for the Math 60 assignment on conversion of units. The first thing you should have is one of these, and let me show you what it looks like. Let's see here. Okay, so that should be a PDF on the course website, and so make sure that you have one of these. You can use something else if you have to, but these conversions are approximate, and you often do get slightly different answers. It's not that big a deal, but I do prefer that you use these conversions to do these problems. Okay, so the assignment itself is split up into three pieces. First, we have English to English units, and then we do metric to metric units, and then we convert between English and metric units. And all of those conversions are on here, okay? So, for starters, let's take a look at problem 2. A ribbon is, let's see, unit conversion. So, problem 2, a ribbon is 30 inches long, and we want to convert this into feet. So, we need our conversion for inches to feet, and you can either use your knowledge of inches and feet, or you can use the conversions, okay? So, we know that 12 inches equals 1 foot. All right, so this process is always going to be either multiplying or dividing, okay, by our conversion factor. The question is, which one do we do? Well, there's a couple ways to go about it. One is to make a decision about whether you think that you should multiply or divide, and then make that calculation. In this problem, I think that we need to divide. So I'm going to take 30 and divide it by 12. And that gives me 2.5. So, does that seem reasonable? This problem's pretty straightforward. You can kind of tell that that does seem like the right answer. Here's one way that you can tell. If you've made the correct calculation, the relationship in your conversion factor should be repeated up here. Okay? You will always have a larger number of inches than you do of feet. Did that hold true here? That's a good indication that we have the right answer. Another way you can double check yourself is to set up a proportion. I don't know if you remember when we were going over proportions, I said that this long method of solving a proportion, right, setting it up like this, is something that you can always fall back on, okay? If you're confused, if you're not sure you have the right answer, you can always fall back on this setup right here. So here's our conversion factor with the inches on the top, the feet on the bottom. Over here, we've got 30 inches on the top, and we're going to solve for x feet on the bottom. And you can see, we do 30 times 1 and divide by 12. There's that dividing by 12, and that gives us 2.5 feet. So, again, however you go about it, if you can see clearly whether you should be multiplying or dividing, go ahead and make that calculation. This gives you kind of a quick check to see, did that relationship hold true after my calculation? If the answer is yes, then it's a pretty good indication you've got the right answer. If you're not sure, set up a proportion and solve it that way. Okay? All right. Let's continue through here. Let's see here. Problem 4. The Marianas Trench in the Pacific Ocean is 36,070 feet below sea level. We want to convert this to miles. Okay? And our conversion factor is 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. Okay? So again, I'm going to divide here. I'm going to do 36,070 divided by 5,280. And we want to round our answer to the nearest hundredth. So that's going to be 6.83 miles. Okay. And again, if you're not sure, you want to set this up as a proportion, then take your conversion factor, 5,280 feet is 1 mile. And then over here, you put your 36,070 feet. Remember, match up the feet with each other. And then down here, we'll have X miles. And 36,070 times 1 divided by 5,280, there's our 6.83 miles. Okay. What else? Oh, problem 10, we've got convert, oh, we don't really need that, 40 pounds equals how many ounces? And what's our conversion factor here? Pounds to ounces. I'm going to have to add that onto our handout here. But there are 16 ounces. I know I wrote 10. There we go. 16 ounces equals 1 pound. All right. So I'll make a note to myself to add that on there. Okay. So there's our conversion. Now again, the question is, do we multiply or do we divide? Our first two examples were both division examples. Now this one is a multiply example, okay? So I'm going to multiply 40 times 16, and that's going to give me 640 ounces. All right. How did I know to multiply? Well, for starters, I mean, it has to do with whether you're working with the larger quantity or the smaller quantity, right? So here, our smaller quantities were what we had the conversion factor for. So these are the same units, so I ended up dividing there, okay? Over here, the pounds didn't match up to what I had here. This is 16 ounces. So I don't know if that's helpful to you or not, but that's how I made that decision. Now, if you're not sure, so first of all, let's double check this, right? Let's take a quick look at this. We always have more ounces, a larger number of ounces than we do of pounds. Did that stay true here? Yes, it did. That's a good indication we made the right calculation. Now, if we set up a proportion, let's see, the pounds go on top and the ounces go on the bottom. And there it is, 40 times 16 divided by 1, that gives us the 640. Okay? So, like I keep saying, you have to make that decision, do I multiply or do I divide? Okay? And that's just kind of common sense and using your reasoning and then seeing whether or not your answer seems to make sense. And like I keep saying, this relationship should hold up. Whatever you see here, you should have the same relationship between these numbers. And again, if you're not sure, make a proportion. Okay. Let's see here. What else? Let's look at a couple more of these English to English conversions. Number 12, we want to go from pints to gallons. 16 pints equals how many gallons? And what's our conversion factor here? Well, we know that 2 pints equals 1 quart. And we know that 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. So now it's getting a little bit trickier, okay? Now, you can work with these conversions to go straight from pints into gallons if you want to, Or you can do a double conversion where you convert the pints into quarts and then convert those quarts into gallons. Okay? So, if there are 2 pints in every quart, that means those 16 pints will make 8 quarts. And again, to get that, I did 16 divided by 2. If there's 4 quarts in a gallon, that means the 8 quarts will be 2 gallons. And there we go. So now we know 16 pints makes 2 gallons. Now if you want to do the conversion here, right, 2 pints is a quart and 4 quarts is a gallon. So that means you would have 4 times 2 pints for every quart. So that means that you would have 8 pints in 1 gallon. And then you could use that conversion to do 16 divided by 8 and get the 2 directly. Either way, it's an extra step. Okay, what else? Let's see here. Problem 14, 20 days into hours. 20 days equals how many hours? And yeah, I put this on the conversion sheet, 24 hours equals 1 day. And so again, do we multiply or do we divide? Okay. Now notice that here, because our units matched up in both cases, we divided twice to get that answer. Here, this is days, this is hours. We're going to want to multiply this, okay? So 20 times 24, that should be 480 hours, okay? All right, did our relationships hold? We always have a higher number of hours than we do of days, higher number of hours, lower number of days. So that holds up. What about the proportion? And again, you don't have to do it both ways, okay? I just keep showing both ways of making this calculation because there are students out there that want to do it one way and other students that want to do it a different way. All right, so our proportion here, 24 hours in 1 day, and then we want to know 20 days is how many hours, and there's our 24 times 20 divided by 1. That's 480. Okay. Let's see here. All right, let's do one that's not on there. This is one of my favorite ones. When I was in college, a guy I knew took a course on the history of the Vietnam War. And for a textbook, essentially, is what I'm trying to say, they used a documentary series called Vietnam, the 10,000-Day War. And that's always stuck in my mind because it's kind of unclear exactly how long that is. And I think that's the point. Well, I think that was one of the things that the creators of that documentary were trying to get at. Number one, they want people to think about what is 10,000 days. Because, well, let's do the conversion first, and then I'll talk about why I'm so fascinated by this. Well, let's convert this into years, and we'll just use 365 days in a year, okay? So we know 365 days equals 1 year. Okay, so I'm going to divide here, and if we do 10,000 divided by 365, we get, this is about 27.4 years, okay? Wow, that's a long time. Now, you may not know much about the history of Vietnam War, but you know, even people with a passing familiarity kind of have this sense that Vietnam was a part of the late 1960s and early 1970s. So why are these people saying that the war went on for 27 years? Well, that's one of the points of that documentary, is that there was a lot going on in Vietnam from the end of World War II all the way through to 1975 when the Americans finally left Saigon. Okay, so there's a little connection to other things going on in the world besides mathematics. All right, now let's take a look at the metric system. Okay, so there are a lot of units in the metric system. We're just going to focus on 3 of the most common ones. All right, well, so for measurement, let's see, we use meters for length, we use liters for liquid, and we use grams for weight. Okay? With each of these, there are 3 main prefixes that people use. Milli, centi, and kilo. Okay? So, and all of these conversions, again, are on this conversion sheet. Okay? So, if you have 1,000 millimeters, which is abbreviated mm, that's equal to 1 meter. Okay? 10 millimeters is 1 centimeter, and 100 centimeters, again, makes 1 meter. And that relationship is going to hold for the liters and for the grams. Okay? So 10 milligrams is equal to 1 centigram. 100 centigrams is 1 gram. And 1,000 grams equals 1 kilogram. Okay. Like I said, there are other prefixes. They have a deca prefix or deci prefix here. They have a deca prefix here. They have like a hepta prefix, but you just don't see those being used. Okay, mostly what people use in countries that use the metric system and in the sciences which use the metric system, you mostly see milli, centi, and kilo. Oh, that's the one I left out here, which is 1,000 meters equals 1 kilometer. Okay. So let's see here. Oh, there are other ones that get used in the sciences. You can go smaller than milli, like especially with weights. Okay, when it comes to weights, sometimes a milligram is not quite small enough for whatever it is that scientists are doing, and so they have micrograms and nanograms that are very, very, very small quantities. We're not going to worry about those too much. We're going to focus on these. These are the ones on the conversion sheet. Okay, so let's look at some problems. These are pretty straightforward because the conversions are all factors of 10. That was the whole point of the metric system. Okay, so problem 18. We've got 8,209 millimeters, and we want to convert that to meters. Okay, so let's look at our conversion sheet. Now, we don't have a straight conversion from millimeters to meters, right? What we have is 10 millimeters is 1 centimeter, and 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. So again, you can combine these to say that 1,000 millimeters will equal 1 meter. Okay? Or you can convert this into centimeters and then convert that into meters, however you want to do it. But we need to do 8,209 divided by 1,000. That'll just be 8.209. Okay? All of these metric conversions will just involve moving the decimal point back and forth. Okay? And again, if you want to set up a proportion, you'll have your 1,000 millimeters is equivalent to 1 meter. Put your 8,000, I'm putting it in the wrong place. Well, let me finish what I'm doing here. And so, look, this is millimeters. It belongs on the top with the 1,000 millimeters. That's how I knew I was doing it wrong. Okay. There we go. And that'll be X meters. And there's your 8,209 times 1 divided by 1,000, 8.209. Okay, we'll look at a couple more of these metric ones, and then we'll talk about converting between metric and English units. All right, let's see here. Let's convert, well, let's do number 20. 16,415 millimeters. We want to convert that into kilometers. And again, there's no simple conversion there. All right, so we just saw that 1,000 millimeters is 1 meter, and 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. Okay, so that means that this thing is going to be equal to 16.415 meters, 415 meters, right? We take this, divide it by 1,000, that gives us the meters, and then we divide by 1,000 again, and that'll give us 0.016415. Okay? And you should always have more of the smaller unit than you do of the larger unit, right? That's what I was talking about when we were looking at things like this, 12 feet. 12 inches equals 1 foot. So you've got more of the smaller unit and then less of the larger unit, okay? And then that's what's happening here. All right. What else? Let's do one more, problem 22. 824 centimeters, and we want to convert that to meters, and we know that 100 centimeters is 1 meter, right? Okay, so again, we're going to divide here, and this will be 8.24 meters. Okay, so now let's talk about going from English to metric units and vice versa. Okay, let's look at this. Problem 28. We want to convert 25 inches into centimeters. All right, what's our conversion factor? We have 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. Okay, so we're going to multiply 25 times 2.54, and it gives us 63.5 centimeters. So let's think about this. Does this relationship hold up? Do we have a smaller number of inches and a bigger number of centimeters? Yes, we do. Okay, so chances are that answer is good. Like I always say, you can set up a proportion if you are not sure. Well, let's look at problem 30. We want to look at 60 miles, and we want to convert that into kilometers. And our conversion factor says 1 mile equals 1.61 kilometers. Now, here's something to be aware of. So I'm using this km for kilometers. When you see m, that means meters. Sometimes people confuse meters and miles, okay? But just the m should always stand for meters. If you see an mi, that's usually miles. Okay, so what do we got here? Okay, so here's our conversion. There's what we want to convert. So let's do 60 times 1.61, 96.6 kilometers. Let's see, we have a smaller number of miles than we do kilometers. Does that hold true here? Yes, it does. And again, if we're not sure, we can set up a proportion. 1 mile, 1.61 kilometers. Here we'll put the 60 miles on top, and then x kilometers. 60 times 1.61 divided by 1. There's our answer. Okay. So what else do we have? Liters to gallons. Problem 32. We've got 10 liters, and we want to know how many gallons does that make. Let's see here. Well, we've got a conversion from liters to quarts, but we also have a conversion from liters to gallons. So this says 1 gallon equals 3.785 liters. Okay? So I'm going to divide. 10 divided by 3.785 gives us 2.64. I didn't put any rounding in the problem. 2.64 gallons. Does that relationship hold up? I have a higher number of liters, a smaller number of gallons. Higher number of liters, smaller number of gallons. Good. Okay, let's see here. Problem 34, we're going to convert grams to pounds. Let's see here. 200 grams is how many pounds? And what's our conversion? We don't have a direct conversion. We've got 1 ounce is 28.35 grams. But we also know that 16 ounces equals 1 pound. Okay, so we need to do a double conversion here. So let's see here. We've got 200 grams. We want to know how many ounces is that going to be. So let's divide. So let's see here. 200 divided by 28.35. So we get about 7.05 ounces. Okay? And then we can divide that by 16. And that gives us 0.44 pounds. All right, 0.44 pounds. So let's see. We should have a smaller number of ounces than we do of grams. True. And then we should have a smaller number of pounds than we do of ounces. Also true. Okay? And again, you can set up proportions and go through that process if you want to double check. Okay, let's see here. What do we want to do? Let's take problem 38. 75 kilograms. What is that? 38. Take 75 kilograms, and then how many pounds is that going to be? And let's see, do we have a conversion factor? 1 kilogram equals 2.2 pounds. Okay. So I'm going to do 75 times 2.2, and that'll be 165. Okay, let's see. We should have a higher number of pounds than kilograms. That holds true. That's a good indication that we've got the right answer. And let's see here. Well, let's take the problem 40. It's the last one on the handout. 1,500 meters. 14, not 14. There we go. 1,500 meters. And we want to convert that into feet. Let's see, do we have a meters to feet? Yeah, 1 meter is 3.28 feet. Okay. Let's put our units in there. So now I'm going to multiply. 1,500 times 3.28. 4,920 feet. Now, the problem doesn't ask you to do this, but like in the Olympics and international competition, like in the US, people run a mile, okay? Or actually, I'm not even sure that they do anymore. I'm not sure whether track meets have switched to the 1,500 meters of the mile, but running a mile was always a big deal, you know, and how fast people could do it. So if we want to know how close is this to a mile, I'm going to divide it by 5,280, 0.93. So in international competitions, the 1,500 meters is considered to be equivalent to the 1 mile race, but it actually is a little bit shorter. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful, and it's all about making that decision. Do you multiply or do you divide? Okay, we're going to have a Zoom conference. Let's see, that'll be Monday at 12:30. I sent that email out already. And so if you have any questions, that'll be an opportunity for you to ask. Or you can call or email me. As always, just if you have any questions, let me know, please. Thanks.